Let's see. What could this be? I managed to read 10 whole pages in the car. 10 whole pages. Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to day 6 of BOOKMAS. I cannot believe we are at the halfway point already. I feel like BOOKMAS was something I was looking forward to for so long, and now that it's here, it's going by so quick. Like, it's something I've been anticipating for so long, planning for so long, and the fact that we are already halfway through, I mean, we will be halfway through after finishing today's vlog, that just sounds absurd to me. But because it is day 6, we are of course doing another blind book advent calendar reading challenge day. So this is the 3rd round that we are doing this for this BOOKMAS season. You guys already know the drill by now, but basically I will pick one of these blind wrapped books to read, and whatever one I get, I will read in one day. So just getting straight into it, let's close our eyes and choose one of these. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is the first one that my hand landed on, so it'll be whatever this is. Okay, a nice little red gift wrapped one that says dog on it. What could this be? This feels like another book of the month. I feel like, from what I remember, 3 of the books we wrapped up were book of the months, and this feels like the 3rd one. So I feel like as we continue to go on through this mini advent calendar, I think it's just gonna become easier and easier and easier to guess what books are inside. So I'm pretty sure this is Broken Country. In my hands right here, I'm like 99.95% sure this is Broken Country. I think the only other hardcover I had wrapped up was House of the Beast, and this feels like a book of the month to me. So I think it's Broken Country by Clare Leslie Hall. But okay, as always, you will be the first to see. I'm gonna close my eyes and let's open and see what's in here. See if it's truly Broken Country. Because if it is Broken Country, that will mean that I have guessed 3 out of 3 books so far in this challenge. So please tell me I'm holding Broken Country in front of me. This will be very embarrassing if it's not Broken Country. Yep. Maybe I should have wrapped up more books and made this more difficult for me, but I also didn't want to hold so many books hostage, you know? And I definitely wanted to prioritize my December TBR. That was 5 books, so I didn't want to wrap up too many books and then risk not actually picking the majority of my December TBR to read during this challenge. So I think we did the right thing by not wrapping too many books, but I'm so excited to read this one. I'm so excited. So far in this challenge, we've read 2 fantasies. So I read The Wishing Game on day 1 and then The Everlasting on day 2. So this will be our first real world book that we're reading in this challenge. And I'm so intrigued at this one. I have heard so many wonderful things. I don't think I've seen anyone dislike this book, but that was also the case with The Everlasting that we read in the last reading vlog. And unfortunately, that was a surprising not a hit for me, but I have very high hopes for this book. So basically, this is a mystery fiction. We follow a couple. What are their names? We follow Beth and her kind, gentle husband, Frank. They're happily married, but they have some secrets from the past, and their relationship relies on the past staying buried. But of course, something happens to throw everything into chaos. So Beth's brother-in-law shoots a dog that is going after their sheep, which, oh my God, is so sad. I feel like if that moment happens on page, which it probably will, like, that will be a very traumatizing page to read. But that dog actually belongs to none other than Gabriel Wolf, the man Beth loved as a teenager, the man who broke her heart years ago. So I guess this leads Beth and Gabriel to sort of reconnecting. Beth meets Gabriel's son, Leo, who actually reminds Beth of her own son who passed away earlier in a very tragic accident. And so I think as she gets kind of pulled into Gabriel's circle, some jealousies come up. Maybe Frank doesn't stay so gentle and kind anymore. I don't know if that's the case. That's just me making assumptions based on the plot synopsis. But then Beth is sort of like forced into this place where she needs to choose between her past in her present. And this is described as a sweeping love story with the pace and twists of a thriller, which sounds so interesting to me because thrillers are obviously written in this very specific way that keeps you really entranced in it, like keeps you with like a whole bunch of questions that you need answered in your head, and usually thrillers are quite fast-paced. So it'll be interesting seeing how that and a love story is paired together, along with all the trauma that I can already feel coming from this book, like emanating from this book. But okay, Broken Country's going to be our read of the day. Let's get into it. The like sheep or lamb symbolism gets me every single time. I feel like whenever I see a lamb in like a movie, like a horror movie or a thriller movie, you know things are about to get real. Anyways, that happened very early on. Okay, I'm about 40 pages in, so just for a quick first update, I'm really liking the structure of this book so far. Something that's hard to say when you've only read the first 40 pages, but basically the story is told to you in a dual timeline, which is actually a format that I typically love, and there is a historical element to the story. So one timeline is set in 1955 and the other one is set in 1968. So in our 1955 timeline, our past timeline, we obviously see our two characters, Beth and Gabriel, meeting each other, like having this sort of innocent, naive, young love, first love connection. And then in our later timeline, we see them in their adult years as they reconnect through this traumatic dog shooting incident. And I really, really love dual timeline. I just love the possibility of setting up parallels between the two timelines, and I also just love that you kind of do get the best of both worlds. Like, yes, you do get that sort of young, naive, innocent first love story, which for some reason, like, I still love reading about, but then you get that mirrored or paralleled with our characters at an older age, and I don't know, you see them as they're more weathered. You can start filling in the gaps of what happened between those naive, innocent years versus these older, weathered years, and you get a lot of depth and complexity there. So I love, love, love this form of storytelling always. And then just in terms of the writing style, it is feeling very ominous so far. Like, as I mentioned, we like at the very start have a lot of imagery with like lambs being slaughtered and actually a lot of reference to religion, which is something that I haven't actually seen a lot in the books that I've read lately. So that's just adding a whole other layer to this reading experience. I don't know how big of a role religion will play throughout the entire story, but so far we do have quite a strong underlying theme of religion throughout the entire book. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play into the bigger picture. But all in all, the writing is feeling very ominous. So I'm finding myself, as I'm reading page to page, I'm finding myself just like thinking of the worst case scenario of like what the most twisted scenario and outcome could be. Because throughout the story we do have some unknowns. We have these mystery elements of like someone who's died, someone who killed someone, but like who died and who killed that person. And so I am now in my head, just as I'm reading, coming up with the most twisted scenarios of what could have possibly happened in this story. So there's a sense of dread while reading, but kind of in a good way, because I feel like when I read things with a sense of dread, it just makes me more captivated in this story overall. So I'm interested so far, but yeah, let's keep reading. I made it to 70 pages. It's like 10 a.m., but I need to step out quickly and do some Christmas shopping. So I'm gonna head out. Maybe I'll try and read a little bit in the car. But I tend to get car sick when I look at a phone. I actually haven't tried to read like a paper book in the car for a long time, so maybe I can try and see if I can read a few pages in the car. But if I get too car sick, I will stop. But I'll bring the book along with me. Let's do a little bit of Christmas shopping. I managed to read 10 whole pages in the car. 10 whole pages. I would also not recommend going to the mall at this time of the year. It wasn't even that busy, but it was still just like busier then. I like the peace and quiet of home. But I'm back home, just had lunch. I made a vanilla rooibos tea. That's our flavor for the day. I love, love, love this tea. No, not vanilla rooibos, Earl Grey rooibos. So it has the flavor of Earl Grey, but it's decaffeinated because it's rooibos. It's lovely. Anyways, I'm gonna continue Broken Country. I think I'm at this point in this book now where I'm watching the protagonist make these decisions, and it's like, it's one of those situations where like, why are you doing this? This decision does not make sense. You're sending yourself on a downward spiral, but also you kind of want to see her make these bad decisions, because if she didn't make these bad decisions, there would be no story and there would be nothing to follow. So yeah, I feel like we are getting into the downward spiral section of this book, and I'm very interested in seeing what happens. So yeah, we're back home. Let's continue reading. Okay, I'm at the halfway point, so let's do another little reading update. I think this is good so far. I'm still very intrigued at the story and kind of just like, I need to continue reading on to see what happens, because we have the dual timeline, as I mentioned, but we also have this like jumping even further into the future. I don't want to say too much about the plot and like what's going on there, but there's definitely like a big mystery element and we need to fill in the gaps. And so I feel like this book is very easy to consume, to want to consume very quickly, so you can find out like what happened. But in terms of the story itself and I guess the themes it's exploring, I'm finding like as I'm reading through this book, I'm realizing how differently I rate fiction books, or like when I read general or literary fiction, how much more I expect versus when I read some other genres. Like when I read romance, for example, I'm usually not expecting something life-changing, or like when I read fantasy, certain fantasies I do expect something life-changing, but sometimes I can read a fantasy that is copy and paste, has 3 trials, and can still have fun reading it. But every time I pick up a fiction, I want to learn something new. I want to get like another outlook on the human experience from another perspective. And I think there are a couple of things explored in this book that could be interesting. Like we definitely see what happens with societal or wealth divides and what happens when 2 people try and cross those lines. But I just think everything we've seen so far has been nothing new, like has all been sort of very basic, very surface level things that I've seen in a lot of other general fictions or literary fictions. So I'm just sort of waiting for that point where we like dive deeper into that or see something just a little bit more unique in this book, because so far, while the plot is interesting and while I'm like very much devouring this book, I just feel like this book isn't very unique in terms of a fiction. Like everything that's happened in the main plot has been very predictable, has been something that I expected just from reading the plot synopsis. But yeah, that being said, who knows what's gonna happen in the second half? Maybe the second half will be a little bit more surprising to me and we'll sort of like get deeper into those themes that we've already established in the first half. So fingers crossed, but yeah, this book is still very easy to read and hopefully we just get deeper into things. The main character is still making all the wrong decisions, I think. And I can, on one hand, I can see like where she's coming from. We're definitely dealing with a lot of broken characters, broken in different ways, and what she's doing is definitely a coping mechanism, but yeah, it's a little frustrating to read, but I'm gonna keep going. That's my halfway reading update. Okay, literally the page after my last update when I was saying that everything felt surface level and the same and like nothing new compared to other fictions I read, the next page we started to dive deeper and we got a lot more complexity. I think we got a lot more like personal touches on each character too, which just made everyone feel more whole. And then we also got into a couple more like really emotional moments. And so yeah, it kind of like brought me back in the story. I feel like I was starting to not like lose interest because, as I mentioned, the whole mystery portion of this book is very compelling, but just in terms of diving into the, I guess you could say, tropes or elements or themes that we're exploring in this book, I was starting to lose interest in a lot of that because it felt very same. But yeah, I feel like we got a lot more nuance in this second half. I also think like the tie-ins with religion and politics is done really well in this book. I think it's obviously, especially with general fiction books, it can be really important to tie in like real world religion and political issues into stories, but I feel like sometimes it can start feeling very overbearing and very preachy depending on how the author does it, but I feel like it's done very well in here, where every time it's been brought up it feels relevant to the story. It's contributing to like the development of our characters, their decisions that they're making, and just contributes to our overall situation. And I think I have like about 70 pages remaining. Things are feeling real intense right now. The majority of this book has been quite dread filled. The feeling of dread has just been building and building and building and building up until this point, and I feel like we're at the peak of this like dread, like what actually happened, like who shot who. I'm a little bit scared, but I feel like the last 70 pages of this is probably gonna go real quick because I'm gonna be really into it. So I just thought it'd be good to give a reading update now before I dive into the end of this book, because once I continue reading from this point onward, I don't think I'll be able to stop until the end. Let's take a deep breath together. And let's finish this book. My heart. Okay, yeah, I mean, that definitely got me at the end, didn't it? I think like the second half of the book is where it truly shines. Like that is where everything you want is. That's what I was waiting for the whole time. Like I wanted to feel those feelings and I got them at the end. There were just so many layers to everything, and our characters, especially Beth as our protagonist, was so flawed, but you could just see the different ways that everyone involved in the situation was dealing with loss, with grief. It's one of those stories where all your characters are connected in all of these, I guess, like unconventional ways. And I'm not gonna lie, there were a few moments at the end there that truly surprised me. And I also actually really loved, like on top of just finally getting that depth, all of those layers to our characters that we got in the second half, I think by the end we also explored like what it is to be like in a sensational court case as well, how the public and even like people within the court will sensationalize a court case and how it's all really like a circus act a lot of the time. I think in an age of social media and how a lot of the time when we see a true crime, like an active true crime case happening, as we see it unfold on social media, I think a lot of the time the humanity in these cases is stripped out of it and we just get the sensationalism. Sensationalism, is that a word? We just get, you know what I mean? Like we just get this like circus clown show of like a murder case or whatever it may be. And it shouldn't be that way. Like we're going in the wrong direction. Like there are always real humans involved in these cases. And I think there were some moments in this book that went into that, and I actually really appreciated that. I think that's always a really good reminder. And yeah, I don't know, this book, I mean, it got me real emotional by the end there. I am glad that the second half of this book really won me over. It really truly was very well done, and I would highly recommend it. It's also not too long of a book. It's just over 300 pages. And as I've been saying, once you get into it, it's one of those books where you just like can't look away. You have to keep reading. You need to know what happens. So I am very happy about this one. I think I'm gonna rate it a 4.25. It definitely wasn't perfect for me. The first half I think definitely could have been a little bit stronger, but overall it tied itself together, and yeah, I think it was a wonderful story. That last page hit real hard, let me tell you. I guess that's broken country. This means we have finished day 3 of our blind book advent calendar challenge. So we are now halfway done BOOKMAS. What? I do want to show you something very, very interesting though, just before we end this vlog. One second, I'm gonna go get it. So for my current read, like outside of my challenge where I just read this today, I am still currently on Fallen Stars by Amani Iriu, which we talked about in the last reading challenge vlog, but I actually just got this in the mail the other day. It's Just Friends by Haley Pham. I think a lot of us who are like, you know, obviously in the booktube or book talk or just like book social media world have been highly anticipating Haley Pham's book. And yeah, I just received an early copy of this the other day, so I think after Fallen Stars, I'm gonna dive into Just Friends because I'm just so curious about this one. I'm always very excited to read a debut author, so yeah, I think this will be a good one to pick up next. I also just haven't picked up a contemporary romance in a while, and I feel like I'm getting that itch again to pick up something that's cute and lighthearted, obviously with some depth hopefully mixed in there, but at the end of the day, like a lighthearted story. So yeah, I think that's gonna be my next read that I pick up outside of our advent calendar challenge. But that being said, I think that's gonna wrap up our reading vlog today. So that wraps BOOKMAS Day, hold on, what is it? BOOKMAS Day 6. Yeah, BOOKMAS Day 6. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know what you think we're gonna pick for BOOKMAS Day 7/reading day 4. We have 4 options left to choose from. So we still have Assistant to the Villain. We have Welcome to the Hyunamdong Bookshop, Great and Precious Things, and House of the Beast. Those are the 4 books we have left to choose, and we only have 3 reading vlogs left, so one of those books will not be chosen in a reading vlog. But yeah, let me know what you think we're gonna read next. But yeah, if you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.